Semifinal number 2 coming your way from Foxborough, Massachusetts, and Gillette Stadium. Syracuse is back on the biggest stage in the sport. Gary Gait, with the help of Joey Spallina, has the Orange in the semifinals for the first time since 2013. John Tillman's Terps have become a Memorial Day weekend fixture in lacrosse. 11 trips to the national semis in the Tillman era. And the winner of this game will take on Cornell in Monday's national championship. The Big Red holding off Penn State 11-9 earlier today. And welcome Anish Shroff, Paul Carcaterra, Quint Kesnick. We'll hear from Dana Boyle in just a moment. Q, Syracuse is back. Maryland never left.
You think about Syracuse, 22 straight years they made this event, championship weekend. Their last championship in '09. The last time they were here in 2013. Their creativity is welcome this weekend. And they got Maryland. They're setting the standard. They got a timeshare at championship weekend. Structure, discipline, and defense.
Yeah, for Syracuse, when you think of their great teams, you think of number 22.
You do, and Syracuse has won 11 national titles, and they've always had a guy on one of those title teams. This year, without question, it's been Joey Spallina. He wears the double deuce, the same number his coach made famous. Last week, he went home to Long Island, and he was the man of the match. 4 goals and 4 assists, constantly winning the leverage game on Colin Mulshine, owning the matchup. And he iced the game late with a beautiful pass to Owen Hiltz. This team rolls when Spallina is dissecting defenses with his vision. He's one of the best passers in all of college lacrosse.
He is #1 in college lacrosse in assists. Meanwhile, for Maryland, Quint, your old position, goalkeeper, Logan McNaney is in the all-time tier of big game goalies.
And playoff lacrosse, Logan, the 6th-year senior from Corning, New York, 12-2 in the NCAA tournament. 58% as a stopper. He's great around the net with ground balls and clearing passes. Unflappable demeanor, great eye control. That is the ability to focus and move his hands with quickness at the last second. And then his pulse, I mean, he's a flatliner. Never too high, never too low.
Playing in his 4th semifinal. Dana Boyle, both coaches said the key to this game, face-offs, namely John Mullen of Syracuse.
Yeah, good news if you're a Syracuse fan. Johnny Mullen at the face-off X. He's a local kid. He grew up in Norwell, Mass, just about 31 miles from Foxborough. He might have the quickest hands in all of college lacrosse, but he's not just winning face-offs. He leads the nation in ground balls. He gets involved as a scorer. He can push the ball in transition, Anise, which allows them to flip a script if they get that slow start. Has the ability to gain possession, which will be at a premium in this matchup.
Yeah, great point. So much of this game will be determined by tempo. Mullen against Shea Keithler for the opening face-off, and it's won by Syracuse. They want to push. They want to speed Maryland up. The Terps have been so good at controlling tempo all season. Quint, we watched them in Annapolis last week. They ran down the shot clock, played slow. Georgetown tried to play that game. It didn't work.
Methodical, like a football team with 2 tight ends and a fullback who's going to run it on 1st and 2nd down. They'll punt it 8 times. They don't care. Field position, and they'll beat you 21-17. Maryland, structure, discipline, defense.
Syracuse with its top 6 on offense, 5 All-Americans, including their entire starting midfield. 15 in orange, Sam English, a first-team All-American. Shot on the run and a score. Owen Hiltz, who tagged the game winner in each of the first 2 rounds for Syracuse with the opening salvo in semifinal number 2.
He's got magical wrists, Canadian double 7s, with all the attention on the right side with Joey Spallina. You give Hiltz the ball on the wing. This is a beautiful kind of hedge downfield and then using the pick to get to the middle of the field, and you're shooting on an ocean.
Pass down, pick down. Hiltz turns the corner left-handed. The lead early is critical when you're playing Maryland. In Maryland, 3 losses this season. They trailed in the first quarter. So you set the pace by taking the lead against the Terps.
That is a great point. And getting to McNaney is huge as well. He's 62% in the 13 wins 47% in the 3 losses.
Maryland wins the second face-off. A.J. Larkin off the wings. And the Terps go to work on offense. Maryland a quarterfinal win against Georgetown. A workmanlike round 1 win against Army. They are the number 2 seed. They played in the national championship last year. They've played in the title game 8 times under John Tillman, winning in 2017 and 2022. In goal for Syracuse, Jimmy McCool. He is a Boston native. Bryce Ford, part of that first midfield for Maryland, 24 in white, as is Matthew Keegan, number 36. There's Braden Erksa, a hat trick in the quarters. Now Whittier is at a point in every game this season.
Long possessions, a lot of crispy passing, circular in motion. They take their time.
Whittier hedging. Gets it back from Daniel Kelly. Regular season meeting between these two went to Maryland up in College Park. Here comes Keegan. Missed the cage. Something you're going to see from Syracuse. Their defensive coordinator, John O'Durness, said, don't be surprised if Syracuse slides early, forces Maryland to take shots early in the shot clock. Now the shot clock is into single digits. Take the Terps sub off. They'll try, and McCool with the save.
Body stop. Good turn by McCool, Clark. He turns on the feed and is in ideal position.
For Syracuse defensively, sliding early is twofold, right? You force them to get uncomfortable and not use the clock, but also this isn't a team that beats you with passing off of dodges. They are 46th in the nation in assists per game. If I'm Cuse, I'm sliding early and often.
Maryland.
Since the men's and the women's championship is being played on the same field, the white lines for the men, the yellow for the women. And in the first semifinal, that caused confusion at times for some of the players. Here's another chance. That's Finn Thompson, sends one off the netting. Thompson, a crafty Canadian.
You'll see a lot of that. You saw the backhand shovel shots last week from Finn Thompson. There's the behind the backs. They take on that same persona of their coach, Gary Gait, a Canadian.
Spalina's shot dives behind the cage. It comes to Maryland. McNaney will set up the clear. Maryland, the best clearing team in this tournament, second in the nation behind only VMI.
Notable from that first possession, Will Schaller, 27 in white, draws the Spalina assignment as we thought. And McNaney out of the net. And he's so clean with those grounders. He pops out, scoops it up.
Yeah, pounces like a panther. Will Schaller, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. John Tillman in his career, 7-0 against Syracuse, 4-0 against Gary Gait. Here's Aiden Aiken, second midfield for Maryland. Aiken, Jack Schultz, Eli Stovall. Schultz, the freshman from Ridgewood in New Jersey. Now Spanos, 7 in white, their top offensive weapon. Stovall, lefty with range. Shot on the run, McCool, another save.
Nice D by Cuse. Clark, I like the way they're condensed. They're really tight. They're not chasing Maryland around. They're kind of building a house at like 10 or 12 yards.
That's big for Jimmy McCool, too. He's typically bounced back after sub 50% games this season. The Ivy League was tough on Jimmy McCool. He's only under 50% 4 games, twice against Harvard, Princeton, and Cornell. The rest of the country, McCool's been legit.
Poison Ivy, baby.
Syracuse coming off 2 cardiac wins. Rallied from 5 goals down in the fourth quarter to topple Harvard in round 1. And then in a wild 19-18 thriller, they beat Princeton last week over on Long Island. Hiltz looking for his second, and Spalina has the backup. Closest to the ball on a shot. When and where it goes out of bounds, awarded possession. Two great fan bases starting to fill up Gillette Stadium. Luke Roa on the run, and there is McNaney. 72% in 3 career semifinals. The Terps have a chance here. Kelly's open. Catch, release, McCool the save. Biggest save so far by Jimmy McCool, who's 3 for 3 in his homecoming.
He played that beautifully. The big body of McCool, he's a left-handed player. She kind of showed some near pipe there. You weren't beating him to that offside.
Baited the shooter a bit.
Sam English has the ball. Syracuse tried the old hit him ball trick. How about English, a top 3 pick in both the NLL and PLL draft. Michael Leo, Syracuse's best Dodger, using the pick. Now he's got a short stick matchup with Kohler, who's an All-American, Maryland's top short stick D-Midi.
Leo's got good feet, prefers his left.
That one missed the cage. It will stay with Syracuse. Shot clock at 33. Cornell beat Penn State earlier today in a game where C.J. Kirst, the best player in the nation, was held scoreless. Big Red found other ways to win. Jack Cascadden, big day at the face-off X, had a goal. Staub. Here's English, bouncer on the run. McNaney too good. Cat-like reflexes. Young man from Corning, New York, the glass town, but he's been a brick wall in his career for the Terps.
Same hometown as his head coach, John Tillman.
He slipped on the wet turf. Took a hit from Spolina, no flag. Here's George Stamos, 54 in white. Had the game winner against Syracuse at the Carrier Dome last year in a wild overtime game. This first midfield with Ford and DeKeegan, a couple of transfers who were both attackmen at their last stops. Keegan at Binghamton, Ford at Fairfield. Spanos goes to work on Billy Dwan. We have had on and off rain most of the afternoon. Sun has been playing hide and seek, mostly seek, as Ford missed wide. Shot clock at 14. Spanos using the Whittier pick. Turns the corner, gets topside, and we are tied at 1.
Spanos got buried after the shot. No flag surprises me. It was high and it was late. Terps, they own restarts. They're really good off of whistles. McNaney's feeling it between the pipes. I like the knee bend, the hand-eye coordination, and he controls his own rebound. At the other end, confusion for the Syracuse defense.
Gary Gait, acclaimed as the greatest player in the history of the sport, led Syracuse to a three-peat from 88 to 90. Quinn, you were his contemporary. You played against him on the biggest stage. What do you remember about the Gait era at Syracuse?
Love that footage. Gary was the best by far, okay? 6'2", 200 pounds, could run like the wind. There was nothing he couldn't do on the field. Get to the net, pass, innovative with behind the backs and different moves. He remains an innovator in the sport of lacrosse, both as a coach and as a manufacturer of lacrosse equipment. The greatest sportsman I've ever been around. The guy got cheap shotted more than anybody and never said a thing. And he, for my eyes, defines the Syracuse program after Roy Simmons.
He always pushed the sport forward. I tell people all the time, before he arrived to Syracuse in 1986, the game looked one way. You fast forward 4 years later when he left in 1990, it looked like a totally different show. And he inspired the next generation of offensive players to a completely different level.
What I also think is so impressive about him when he was the women's head coach, now the men's head coach, is his demeanor. He always remains calm, cool, and collected, never gets too high, never gets too low. When things go awry, his team can look at him as a steady force.
He never betrays a glint of emotion on the sideline. Kelly hits the pipe.
But don't be fooled, he is ultra competitive. He tells his team, he believes the same words he says to himself. He expects to win every single time he steps on a lacrosse field.
Here comes Syracuse. English a two-way midi. Dangerous in transition. missed Thompson on the doorstep.
It was a great play by Syracuse on the run out. Was that Kaczynski?
They want to do that because if you slow clear, Maryland will sub and get all their defensive personnel. So that's a turnover, but in the end, it's a tempo-type play that Syracuse wants to play.
Molina riding Shallard, comes back to McNaney. Maryland just heaves it across midfield to try to get it up. You have to get it across midfield before the shot clock hits 60. Ground ball loose and scooped up by Ford off the wet turf, and he slips.
Now, this is an offsides violation, flag down. It's a play on for Maryland. Syracuse, surprisingly, was in a 10-man ride. They had too many players on the left half of the field.
That's part of the tempo and speeding it up. If they full court press, 10-man ride them.
And now we get the penalty after the Ford miss.
5-0, offside.
That's Ryder Ochoa.
Very interesting, Anish. We watched both these teams practice yesterday. Syracuse, kind of a vanilla
5-0.
Friday, very loose, having fun. Nothing strategic.
Orange, 5-0 orange, offsides, technical 30.
So they were kind of hiding a 10-man ride that they haven't shown really all season.
No, they haven't, but I think that's part of the same principle of wanting this game to be a little hectic. They want chaos because Maryland is like Floyd Mayweather. They're not going to knock you out. They're not going to get knocked out. They're going to take you into the deep waters and frustrate you all afternoon. Maryland
Has been near the bottom of the pack in their man-up offense this season, just 32%. 32 in white, the man-up specialist, Elliot Dubik in there. Ford to Kelly. Maryland probes the perimeter. Erksa camped inside that Syracuse defense. Skip pass, tipped. It stays with Maryland. Terps just one man-up goal in the last 8 games. Cat and mouse with Keegan. Now Erksa. Former Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Erksa doubled. Kelly got a look.
Fantastic stop by McCool.
And it's Syracuse ball.
His best save as a lefty is offside low. And he cheats and guesses there. It's kind of a hitch that he has, but that time it proved to be prophetic. He moves as the shot is triggered, and a gorgeous save.
Two of the 3 most winningest programs in the history of the sport. Maryland and Syracuse. McCool. And now Maryland's got an empty net.
He was in the offensive frame there, below the restraining box. I think Gary Gates should have called a timeout.
McCool's got to run back. He is jogging back. It looks like he took a hit. He wasn't moving close to full speed.
They got lucky. You know, normally in the second half, you're not going to burn that type of timeout, but in the first half, you have to. You're in the offensive set below the restraining line. You can call that timeout if you're Gary Gate. That was a gamble.
Yeah, Maryland, they didn't get that fast restart. Kind of took their time as well. Here's Ford. McCool back in the cage. Quint likely huffing and puffing.
Yes, I thought he was tired.
Spanos.
And then he nailed it. The Maryland player held the ball up to the ref. We're ready to go. And it was at least a 3 or 4 count. They really gave Syracuse a break there without having a fast restart.
Which it should have been. Erksa's pass gets away. Picked up by the freshman Schultz. Has not scored in his last 4 games. Up top to Kelly. Now Spanos, who had 6 goals in round 1. Stovall's been a threat. Lost his defender. Spanos. Swim move. Again, missed the cage. It stays with Maryland, 16 to shoot.
Syracuse in a man-to-man defense, but very condensed. It's almost like a zone. They're sliding from the adjacent man, really packed in.
Kelly had 2 goals in the win against Syracuse earlier this season.
Now it is a zone.
They're packed in. Stovall from the outside. Zone buster.
When you pack it in, You're daring Maryland and their stretch shooters. Quint, you talked about Stovall yesterday. As a young player, when he finds his groove, his upside's massive. He's 6'4", a Florida kid with an absolute gasser when he has his time and his feet set.
He gets better every time we see him. He's only a sophomore from IMG in Florida. The physical tools are there. He's learning the game. John Tillman told me yesterday at practice that he continues to make major strides, and you see it with the outside rip.
Jonah Carrier to take this face-off for Maryland, the freshman who did not play in the first meeting between these two teams back on the 15th of February. Mullen, who has been dynamite in this tournament, dynamite down the stretch, wins the draw for the 'Cuse. Both teams have won 2 face-offs.
Don't be surprised to see Mullen do a lot of this. He's trapping Courier because he knows they can play 5-on-5.
Peyton Anderson got confused, went off sides. The freshman from the Poughkeepsie area. And now Maryland, I want to run here. Stamos, Larkin, puts one on cage. A.J. Larkin scored against Syracuse in February. He does it again. And the Terps have a 3-1 lead. So much for the Terps playing slow.
There are moments when they play fast. I did the game down in Atlanta against Notre Dame. Larkin and McDonald, the long stick midfielders, were terrific, pressing in transition. And you see them doing it again here.
We discussed how they're great at restarts. That's a sudden change of possession, a mental mistake by Syracuse. And guess what? Maryland makes you pay. They are clean in the middle of the field. Here's the tail end. Larkin rips it and gets right in Michael Grace's face. But that comes down to being restart ready.
Clark, John Tillman has had some great teams in College Park. 2022, 2017, the 2016 team that lost that heartbreaker to UNC. What he does so well is play to his strengths. When he has horses, he runs. When he doesn't have a team offensively that may be as gifted as some of the other ones, but they're so strong on defense, he's not going to leave that defense out to dry.
That's why he's the best coach in lacrosse. He always changes based on his personnel. You look at his teams in 21 and 22, some of the best offenses we've seen in the last 15, 20 years. They average 17 goals a game. This team's built a little bit different. They're not going to ride because their strength is defense, and they're going to set up and force you to beat them and go through the teeth of this defense, which is very difficult.
Now 6-on-6, they like their chances against anybody. Here comes Anderson. He's provided a late season surge for Syracuse, defended by 51 in white Jack McDonald. Third team All-American McDonald. Spolina. 8 points in the quarter. Schaller knocks it away and scooped up off the ground. Colin Burles.
Hiltz is trapped. Maryland has to take advantage of 77.
McDonald over to the wing. There's a skip pass. Kelly left-handed. McCool, did he get a piece of it? He did. It'll stay with Maryland. 1:29 to go, first quarter. And we get a timeout.
That was gorgeous, gorgeous offense. And Syracuse caught a break. McCool made a big-time stop with his foot. But you see how Maryland, slow break, they share it, their spacing is pristine, and they get the high percentage shot.
Absolutely, and Owen Hiltz, who's an attackman, was caught on defense there. And
that's why the timeout, correct?
Yeah, and Daniel Kelly, the attackman, noticed that. Like, that's not Hiltz's natural habitat. So Kelly found that seam for that shot because Hiltz was inside, kind of clueless.
Yeah, when Clark played, Syracuse may have foregone the timeout. Hey, we'll give up one to go get two. Against Maryland, teams can't play that game. Early timeout by Gary Gate, the result. Monday at 1 Eastern on ESPN, the national championship. It'll be Cornell against either Maryland or Syracuse right here in Foxborough and Gillette Stadium. For more information, go to NCAA.com. Your home for all 90 NCAA championships with Quint Kesnick, Paul Carcaterra, Anish Shroff, Dana Boyle down on the sidelines. Championship weekend in what has been a wild and topsy-turvy season. We were talking between games, Quint, how this NCAA tournament has given us a fourth quarter game pretty much every time out since the start of the quarterfinals.
Even the first round had some monster games. It's been wall-to-wall action, 60-minute games. I think what stands out to me are changes in momentum. There have been some clear moments that these games have spiraled out of control and changed direction.
Dana?
Just out of that huddle for Syracuse offensive coordinator Pat Marsh, look for Syracuse to initiate high by the 20 to start that long dodge to force Maryland to have to adjust there offensively.
So much of the Syracuse offense revolves around the pick and roll game. The Terps, unselfishness. It's a lot of down the side stuff. They like to get defenders caught behind the goal.
Maryland will have the ball here with less than 90 seconds to go in the quarter. 3 straight by the Terps after Owen Hilt scored the first goal.
They have flexibility with 24 and 36, 2 former attackmen who love to invert, take midfielders out of their comfort zone. So 24 and 36 will dodge from behind in the low wings a bunch.
Urksa against Ochoa. Now here is Ford. Keegan, Binghamton's top goal scorer the last 2 years. Keegan defended by Carter Rice, Syracuse's top D midi. Spanos. Terps continue to spin it. Shot clock inside of 15. They're comfortable late in the shot clock. And if it's not there, they'll dump it in the corner and set up their defense. Spanos working on Dwan. Now help coming from Kikemo. Spanos slips, puts one on Cage. That's a desperation shot. McCool, quick exit. Can Syracuse run now?
Great defense. They're hunting double teams. Uncharacteristic bad shot.
They got Spanos trapped on defense now. But just 10 seconds left in the quarter. And Syracuse waiting around.
You got to go to the net. You got to go to the net,
I'm not
Joey.
sure they know how much time there's left.
Time's on the clock.
Here comes Spallina against Schaller. Spallina feeding inside for Thompson. Maryland is a team that does not beat itself. That has been their best attribute all season. Quint, in the first quarter, mental mistakes cost Syracuse.
For years, Syracuse's slogan has been head, heart, and hustle. They're going to need head, heart, and hustle today to beat Maryland.
Welcome back to Foxborough. Coach Gate, how do you combat some of those mental mistakes we saw in the first quarter?
You know, it's the first quarter of the game. We'll be fine. Couple little mental lapses there, but you know, these guys haven't been here before. They're settled down, and they'll make some plays. We'll be fine.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Anish Shroff, Paul Carcaterra, Quint Kesnick upstairs, Dana Boyle down on the field. Jimmy McCool, Syracuse made it clear they wanted Maryland to take shots early in their offense. They want to put this game on their goaltender. They believe in him. 6 saves in that opening quarter, but Maryland, for the most part, controlled tempo.
And turnovers, to me, the key stat. Syracuse 5 turnovers, Maryland only 1.
The mental mistakes or the offsides and the ability for quick restarts for Maryland to strike.
Maryland picks up the ground ball off the faceoff. Jackson Canfield, 6th-year senior, 50 in white. And now the clear by the Terps and Burles. His dad, Bubba, former Schmeisser Award winner at Maryland. That's Defender of the Year.
Long line of great defenders from the University of Maryland. Pre-Bubba, post-Bubba,
Yeah.
Guys like Dan Tracy in the 80s, Bubba in the 90s, and it's been a factory for defenders. And Will Schaller, the latest, a first-team All-American, 27 in white, has the Spallina matchup.
A lot of history between these two programs. Meeting for the 5th time on championship weekend. Keegan off the pinball.
Keegan ran through the midfield defense for the Orange.
The Amtrak dodge. And here's Spanos. Dwan picks him up. Dumps it back to Keegan on the invert. Converted attackman. Working on Jake Spallina. Gets back inside. McCool denies the angle. A sea of orange.
Second kick save. They're going to target Jake Spallina, 1. John Tillman told me they're going after him.
That's a unit that's been decimated by injury. Nate Levine was having a spectacular senior year. They are thin there. The best thing that happened to Syracuse this weekend, the high 50-degree weather. If this was a Memorial Day weekend in the 80s and 90s, that unit would have been gassed, that short stick defensive midfield group.
Now Syracuse in its settled set against the stingy Maryland half-field defense. Leo from the outside. McNaney turns it away.
That's nice. He's got that hand quickness. His eyes are a special sauce,
Yes,
man. I think he's got X-ray
unbelievable.
vision.
It is.
But the fast hands at the last second.
Very different goaltending tactics between the two. There's some guessing in McCool's game. He uses his legs a lot to make saves. It's top hand speed and patience of McNaney, who's caught right now. That's the timeout I thought Gary Gates should have called when McCool was out of the cage. John Tillman calls it there because he knows he doesn't want to risk McNaney being 70 yards from the goal.
Maryland, last year's national runner-up, with an early 3-1 lead on Syracuse. All right, Chris. C.J. Kirst in that first game went scoreless for the first time in his career, yet Cornell showed that they are a complete team, and they knocked off Penn State. Maryland in the NCAA tournament, 30 semifinal appearances, 11 under John Tillman. Tillman has taken them to Championship Monday 8 times. 2-6 in those games. He is 12-2 in round 1, 11-1 in the quarters, 8-2 in the semis, 2-6 on Championship Monday. That's been the kryptonite. Daniel Kelly, who's had a pair of 2-goal games in this tournament, gives Maryland a 4-1 lead. And Q, when you're down 4-1 against Maryland, the deficit seems larger.
John Tillman is analytical, he's meticulous, brilliant, he's a thoughtful thinker. In this game, one team's goalie was running on a clear, they didn't call timeout. The other team called timeout. And guess what happened on the other side of that timeout?
They cash in. Daniel Kelly, when you talk to Mike Phipps, the offensive coordinator, he calls Kelly, the senior captain, the most cerebral player on the team. He can direct the offense. He knows everyone's role, and this time pounds that lower corner. He's also a hired gun on the left side. Look, the John Tillman stuff's pretty simple. The only reason he doesn't have more than 2 national titles is because championship weekend is a 2-day turnaround on Monday to win it all. You give him a week, you're toast.
You know, Quinn's been talking about having the championship game a week after the semifinals. I have to believe, Q, John Tillman would be the first guy to sign up for that format.
He's been saddled with the second semifinal game too often. Look, I compare the challenge to the NFL on Thursday Night Football. Player availability, scouting reports, it just doesn't look the same. The NFL on Thursday, it's not a good product. It's the same with playing lacrosse on 1 day's rest. It's just not the same game.
When did they look their worst the entire season? Against Ohio State on a 2-day turnaround in the Big Ten Championship.
Leo, shot blocked.
They're 4-3 Big Ten title games, 1-day prep, 2-6 NCAA tournament. And none of those games have they played an A+ performance.
Case of the Mondays. Here's Leo from the wing. Leo's shot saved by McNaney. There is a flag. It's going to be on Syracuse. Leo and Canfield joined.
Gotta walk away if you're both parties.
A lot of chippiness when these two teams met during the regular season after the play.
Oh yeah. There was the quote from one Maryland player: "We don't play in 70-degree sunny days in the dome."
Technical foul, 8 white, push, 30 seconds. 8 white, push, 30 seconds.
These are big in this game because Maryland doesn't foul. Maryland's got, what, 24 penalties or 23 coming into this game? Syracuse had 83. So when we talk about discipline and structure, you see the difference in those two stats. So when Cuse is a man up, they must capitalize.
Yeah, Syracuse has had 7 games this year with at least 5 penalties, 3 games with 8 penalties.
This man-down defense for Maryland's been terrific this season, 6th nationally.
A pass knockdown penalty was on Maryland, so Syracuse with the extra man. Hiltz. Leo, the interior passing on the Syracuse man-up is elite. Leo whistles it high. Thompson the backup. Cuse 50% with the extra man. Top 10 nationally. About to be back to even strength. The backup to Trey Deer, 91 in orange. Man-up specialist. Played some attack earlier this year when Finn Thompson was injured. Part of the great Native American lineage of players that have come through Syracuse. English. Boy, Maryland's defense in the half field is stifling.
It's the little things, it's detail. Sticks are always in the passing lane.
Shot clock winding down. It's down to 4, down to 3. Leo hits the side of the net.
It is the little things. It's your stance, your positioning, your stick position. It's your communication. We watched Jesse Bernhardt, their DC, operate yesterday in practice. Man, these guys are like a well-oiled army.
Jesse Bernhardt is a bright star in the coaching profession. 2013 grad from Maryland, multi-time All-American, representing Team USA, plays in the PLL for the Denver Outlaws. He is a star of a defensive mind.
Bryce Ford initiates against Nick Kakemo. Now Whittier. Spanos using the pick. Dwan stays with him. Whittier and Carter Rice doing battle. Feed inside to Ford, save McCool. And the rebound picked up by Riley Figueres, Syracuse's top cover man.
McCool's keeping the orange in this ball game.
Indeed.
8 saves for the Boston, Massachusetts native. Maryland got away with an offsides. They had 7 guys on the field, and now the flag comes. Tyler McCarthy, beat up by Eric Kolar. McCarthy serpents around the crease. There is Spallina wearing that fabled number 22 jersey, worn by so many of the Syracuse greats.
See
and
the stick?
orange will go on the extra man as Schaller got a piece of it.
36. Technical foul, 36 white. Offsides, 30 seconds. 36 white. Offsides, 30 seconds.
Top 10 extra man unit for Syracuse. Top 10 man down defense for Maryland.
There's Jesse Bernhardt, defensive coordinator. It's the little things, Quint, right? Sticks are always up, knocking down passes. It's more than just your matchup. 5/6 of the time when you play defense, you're away from the ball. You're communicating, you're talking, you're supporting.
Connected.
Owen Hiltz. Hiltz as a skip passer, lethal with the man up. Another takeaway by the Terps in the passing lane. Jordy Holmes, who had a goal last week in the quarters.
They're putting on a clinic.
It's been a stifling, lockdown defensive effort by Maryland.
21 minutes scoreless for Syracuse. Close to it. Schaller with a pickoff, caused turnover. Holmes keeping the team out of the middle.
Cuse has turned it over 5 times, Terps just once. Syracuse has missed its last 11 shots. And the Terps on the other end, able to cash in.
chip away. Jesse Bernhardt's unit blasting the Syracuse extra man opportunity, one of the best in the country. And then here's early offense. Cuse isn't set up. 5-by corner. Aiden Aiken showing a nice lefty rip stick side. Aiken from Florida, the junior whose minutes have gone up.
Quinn, some frustration from the Syracuse sideline, specifically from defensive coordinator John O'Derner. He wants to initiate, get in the hands early of Maryland on the offensive end. He wants to disrupt that first layer of offense so they don't get to work.
John Mullen jumped.
John O'Derner wants to do exactly what Jesse Bernhardt is doing.
It is 5-1 Maryland. The experience quotient favors the Terps. Gary Gates said yesterday, hey, Syracuse plays in a stadium. They play at the Dome. They've played in front of big crowds and big atmospheres. They've played when it's loud. Whittier, that one hit the pipe. Rebound, Kelly, 6-1. It's a Terps avalanche.
Matt Ward in the studio talked about the amount of shots that Maryland were getting as if that was going to be a barometer, and he was exactly right. Terps' leading assister is Whittier. That time it's a shot. McCool thinks it goes behind the net. Watch the goalie react to this. He gets a piece right there. He thinks the ball's behind him. Kicks it right to Kelly for the empty netter. The shot discrepancy was kind of masked by the play of Jimmy McCool. Now they're starting to solve him. On the flip side, Syracuse went 9 minutes without a shot. This has been pure domination by the Terps.
You guys were veterans of championship weekend. What is the experience factor? Let's get to that after this keeper faceoff win. Wow, just missed that one. But where does experience come in? Because you have one team that can take its team picture on championship weekend, and while the Syracuse history is long and storied, it's been a long time since they've been back on this stage.
Does it matter? Maybe a little, yeah. These are Syracuse players, though. They've played in a lot of big games all throughout their careers. My issue with Syracuse this year coming into this game, maybe like this has been their goal. Not winning a national championship. It's been getting back to championship weekend. So didn't they achieve their goal last week? Well, it was the longest drought. Right, and if that's the case, that generally doesn't bode well for that team. I think the goal is to win a national title, but I think what plagued Syracuse all season long are the slow starts. They've had multiple games within ACC play where they're down 5-1, down 4-0. Yeah, they come back to some, but this Maryland team's different.
You don't come back on Maryland. Bryce Ford with a great look, missed wide.
And they're holding on here before halftime. I mean, it's a monsoon right now. And Jimmy McCool's going to try to stand tall. If you're John O'Derner, you got to get some life into this defense. Get some friction, get them out challenging shooters.
Hangman now. Maryland has 15 shots on goal. Spanos, Ford, that hit the pipe. Ford recovers, fresh 60-second shot clock.
These first-time grounders in the defensive zone are so critical, because if they don't get these first-time grounders, Maryland is going to just use so much of the clock, be methodical, and they're going to gas this defense. Resets are slow death.
These are body blows.
Shot clock resets are slow death with Maryland.
You mentioned Maryland using the Floyd Mayweather analogy, Kark. I think it's apt as Stovall comes down the alley. But at this rate, this may not be a 12-round fight. Syracuse has to find an answer, or the Terps will be playing on Championship Monday once again. Stovall offline. Spanos is there. 19 to shoot. 26 shots for Maryland, 16 on goal. Syracuse has only put 5 shots on goal. Dwan getting into the grill of Spanos. Stovall using the pick. And Spanos sneaks it over the shoulder of McCool. And we get flags after the play. Tempers starting to flare. Perhaps some frustration on the Syracuse side.
Terp Nation loves it. They know what it takes to play on this weekend. 8 seconds left in the shot clock. Vintage Maryland, vintage Eric Spanos, who's a fantastic dodger with low angle.
Personal foul, 48 orange, unnecessary roughness, 1 minute. That's a dead ball foul, there'll be no face.
Stovall sets the pick there,
48
and it
orange,
just
1
distracts
minute, dead ball
Dwan
foul.
enough. But Spanos beating McCool to the near pipe, Clark. You see the accuracy involved in that shot? That was ridiculous.
I've seen that a bunch out of him. You know, we talked about Maryland and the way that they spread out the scoring. I think Eric Spanos is a star that will play professional lacrosse in the PLL. He's a big body at 6'5". His game has just skyrocketed over the years. He's played some midfield. He's back in attack where he belongs. I think he's a terrific player, and he's a big game player.
John Tillman wanted a review, was asking the officials if it was a high hit.
That wasn't high. To me, I think Michael Grace came in there. Spanos' momentum kind of led to Grace. You got to show as a defender here. That's not high. That's right in the chest area.
Now it's another chance here for Maryland to tack on. After Owen Hilt scored the first goal of the game, 7 unanswered by the Terps. With the extra man. The Terps turn it over. Only the second turnover. That, again, a staple of this Maryland team. They do not beat themselves.
Syracuse has come back in this tournament, Anish.
That's a stinger, that turnover right there.
Down 5 against Harvard in round 1. They scored 5 goals in 1 minute and 39 seconds. It was make it, take it for Johnny Mullen.
Yeah,
they also had an extra man opportunity where they just opened the floodgates. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get 5 goals in 1 minute and 39 seconds against John Tillman. He'll call a timeout after the second one and change everything.
Slightly different defensive personnel, too. Spanos with 2 goals. He's got 9 in this NCAA tournament. Skip pass, shot and a score, Bryce Ford. Terps pouring it on.
Tough day at the office.
That says it all.
Yeah, that's a meme.
Skip pass, sensational. Grip it, rip it. With your feet set, your shooting percentage is going through the roof.
That was the one area, the extra man from Maryland this season, only 32%. McCool's doing his part with 10 saves, but it's step down city with Bryce Ford, the natural lefty, who's converted now to midfield after being a star at Fairfield as an attackman. Now the grad transfer switches his position, and if you watch the tape, he's a natural lefty, but he's scored probably half of his goals this season with the right hand.
This is the 9th postseason meeting between these two programs. Mullen violates on the faceoff. That means he can't take the next one. Maryland with the ball. 5th time Maryland and Syracuse have met on championship weekend. The Terps, one of 2 programs in the NCAA era. That's 1971 to present, with a winning record against Syracuse. The other, you can win some money at the bar with this one, UMBC. There is Schultz. Aiken's got a goal, slips, regains his balance.
Watch Maryland's passing. Watch the accuracy and the pace they throw these passes. Everything's right up in the box area.
These two played in mid-February. It was a close game at the half. Erxa all the way. Doorstep feed. Schultz ran out of an angle.
The ball's rarely on the ground.
Erxa getting top side, but that one goes off the side of the net. 2:40 to go in this second quarter. It has been all Maryland, plus 15 in shots. Logan McNaney has only seen 5 shots on goal. There is a flag coming against the Terps, so Syracuse will have a man-up opportunity, a free possession here. And the Orange able to cash in on the interior. Finn Thompson. And that ends an 8-0 Terrapin run.
This is some sort of lever pass. I think it's Sam English running right-handed downhill. Watch him just flip this over. Like almost part of his cradle. How did he see that? That's a serious play.
Yeah, that is a vintage box lacrosse pass from the Canadian sensation, who will be playing for the California Redwoods in the PLL because of his versatility. This guy can do everything. Defense, wings on faceoffs, pass, get to the rack on his own, and they're going to need him to initiate and draw slides, because when you're down 6, you have to own your matchups.
And because Mullen violated for Syracuse, Johnny Rakusa will take this faceoff for Syracuse against Carrier for Maryland. The freshman Carrier had it, lost it. Kakemo tries to scoop it up, finally does. That goal ending a long scoring drought for Syracuse. Their previous goal came less than a minute into the game, so they went almost 28 minutes without a goal.
Big thing for the Orange right now, finding players with the ability to separate and own a matchup. Joey Spallina did it last week with 4 goals and 4 assists against Colin Molshine. This time he has the one-on-one matchup with Will Schaller. He did really well in round 1 down in College Park in the first half, and then Schaller made some adjustments.
Schaller defending Spallina well.
That's not the
Spallina
matchup.
Forced to give it up.
No, you got to attack Maryland's midfield defenders.
Here's Roa. He can shoot on the run with either hand. Now Hiltz, first round pick of the PLL draft as well. Hiltz missed the cage, a little too high.
When Ohio State beat Maryland in the Big Ten tournament, I thought the Ohio State middies did a nice job of isolating up top in space and owning those matchups.
Absolutely. Gannon Matthews, Liam White, unassisted goals from up top, Quint.
Roa may have gotten away with a ward. Now Spallina out to the wing. English to Leo. Shot clock down to 10. Less than a minute to play in the half. There's the double team. Leo forced to give it up. English has 2 assists today. English weaving, fires. McNaney's going to eat that up every time. He's 5 out of 7. 40 seconds remain in a first half where Maryland has been the aggressor.
Clock management, game management. John Tillman's got a doctorate. They'll end this quarter with the ball, with a late shot.
"15 seconds now. Let's see if Spanos goes. He makes his move, spins it back. Little fake by Keegan. Forced to give it up. Good defense here by Syracuse. Kelly has it poked away. Half number 1 comes to an end. The Terrapins with 18 shots on goal, 29 shots altogether. McNaney 5 of 7 in cage. Kelly and Spanos both with a pair of goals. John Tillman, almost inevitable when leading at halftime.
He's had a masterful game plan, dissecting this Syracuse defense, who's playing in tight, packed in. They're pounding them on the perimeter.
Dana?
Logan, Syracuse has just taken 7 shots. What's critical in containing them creatively on the offensive end?
Our defense is doing a great job. They're playing the scout, and they're giving me shots that I can see, and obviously we're sliding in opportune times, and we got to limit the turnovers and the flag downs. And you know, we had 2 big stops on man down there. That was great by our man down group, so keep moving forward with that.
Maryland familiar in championship weekend. How much does experience play into this matchup?
I think it means a lot. You know, it's a big crowd here. You got to limit those distractions, and we have guys, older guys that have been here before, and you know, younger guys playing in here too, and guys that transferred in, and they're, along with our, what we're doing on the field, showing them how to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
McNaney's teammates told us yesterday It starts with him. He emanates a calm, a cool. The rest of the team feeds off of that.
Quiet assassin.
And he's 1/2 away from playing in his 4th NCAA championship game. A near flawless first half by the Maryland Terrapins. Anish Shroff, Paul Carcaterra, Quinn Kesnick. We'll hear from Dana Boyle in just a moment. 8-2 Terps. Maryland 30 minutes away from getting back to championship Monday. Syracuse scored the first goal, and then all Terps.
They've been pounding the perimeter. Stovall from deep range, then the long pole, Larkin. Maryland is out shooting Syracuse 29-16. Jimmy McCool has been fantastic in spots as the goalie accused, but then they solve them. They're forcing Maryland to shoot from the outside, and they're paying the price.
Maryland's defense is connected. They collaborate well, but when it's one-on-one, Will Schaller has dominated the Spallina matchup. Stick in the passing lane, ball's on the carpet. Look at that hold position, stick on stick, bodying up at goal line extended. That is technically as sound as it gets. Would you expect anything different from a John Tillman coach defense?
This defense is locked in. 17 times this year, Maryland has held a team scoreless for 15+ minutes. That's crazy.
We check in with Dana Boyle.
Yeah, speaking with Gary Gait, the head coach for Syracuse, coming out of the locker room, he remains optimistic, but he told me the turnovers have been a killer. It's totally disrupted their ability to get in any sort of rhythm. They capture the momentum back, and then they turn the ball over. And he said on the offensive end, we have to take better quality shots, only 16 in that first half. And the onus cannot fall on the defensive end, all on Jimmy McCool. Anish.
Well, this is a Syracuse team that has come back this season. 4 times they have rallied from a halftime deficit. They trailed Harvard 8-2 at the half in round 1. Came back to win that game, but being down 6 against Maryland, that is the tallest order. And if it's going to be a Syracuse comeback, it's got to start at the faceoff X. Did not happen there. Jonah Carrier wins it for Maryland. Quint, Syracuse really couldn't speed up Maryland in that first half. Now Maryland has a 6-goal lead. That task becomes even harder.
I think it's going to take a bold strategy if you're going to change the tempo of this game, meaning you might have to get out and play man-to-man defense and say, no, we're not sliding. Go in and score a goal, or McCool makes saves. Something to add some energy to this game, because if it continues on the same track as we've seen in East, we saw Maryland do this last week, they will methodically put this game out of reach. So
there's a reason John Tillman is the best coach in America.
So 10-man ride, press off the face-offs, change the way you're sliding on defense, maybe leave your guys on an island a little more.
Whittier's pass tipped. And Syracuse gets a turnover to begin the third quarter.
And I think when they go on to offense, they have to tweak maybe their lineup too. I'd like to see a little bit more of the freshman Peyton Anderson, who physically is a beast, and he's shown the ability to win some one-on-one matchups. If they don't win one-on-one matchups, they're not going to win this game.
If Spallina, let's say Schaller shuts down Spallina. Okay, what's next?
Peyton Anderson, Sam English, Michael Leo. You got to dodge from the midfield.
Owen Hills has a trail checked away. So that Syracuse possession ends without a shot. Eric Kohler the other way for Maryland. Well, John Tillman, late in the season, Quint, we did not see a ton of that second midfield, but with a game potentially on Monday, if Maryland holds on, John Tillman can also get strategic here in terms of how he uses his bench, Quint.
I think the short stick defensive midfield position is the most taxing in lacrosse. Your LSMs, the long poles, and your shorties, those guys are the guys that benefit from Maryland controlling tempo in long possessions. Maryland's guys are on the bench. They can use an extra with a lead. They can play some extra personnel. That could show up on Monday.
Spot on. Those guys can log 6 to 7 miles in a game. You play half field like this in ball control, you can cut it in half.
Schultz maneuvering. Now picked up by Grace. Former D3 All-American. Aiken changing directions. Urksa doorstep dunk.
High skill level, man. These guys can really zing it. looking for answers. Force feed the crease. Maryland collapses, ball on the ground. Then at the other end, if you're Cuse, you make a bad slide here. Look, 3 guys come to the ball.
3 guys ball watching, leaving Urksa wide open, and yet another goal with under 10 seconds left on the shot clock. You saw Spanos in the second quarter, now Urksa. Quint, you were talking about relying on the one-on-one matchup. If you slide early now, they've found their groove. This isn't the best team in the country in terms of assists, but they don't turn the ball over, and they're smart enough to dissect the defense and to see where the pressure. Those are 3 orange shirts, not 1, not 2, 3.
Maryland has had the possession advantage. Plus 14 in shots. And Mullen has had a tough day at the face-off X. Keithler got Mullen to jump. So
They'll
Maryland.
They'll sit.
Maryland's, like, one thing under John Tillman, face-offs and goaltending. Like, you combine those two, there's very rarely that both of those positions come up empty on the same day.
Yeah, 2017 when John Tillman won his first championship. Their big Achilles heel going into the tournament that year was face-offs. And they had to go through T.D. Erlin and Albany in the quarters, Trevor Baptiste in Denver in the semis, and Jake Withers in Ohio State in the championship. Their third-string guy, John Garino, stepped up, was able to counter all 3 of those, and became the unsung hero of that championship run.
That was when the motorcycle grip.
All right, now, it's not a grip that Maryland has on Syracuse. It's an iron chokehold. Spanos a hat trick. It's 10-2, and it feels like a runaway Terrapin train.
Grip and rip. Garino was a standard face-off guy, going a bunch of guys that were motorcycle happy. Right here you see the wrists and the grip strength of Eric Spanos. That move to get his hands free was sick. He dropped that left plant foot to get topside, and then McCool gets lit by Spanos here. Look at that left plant foot. Whoop, right to the top side, increasing the angle. That's gorgeous.
Eric Spanos is seizing the moment, the redshirt junior from PA. This is a young man who is a middle school hero. Like, his highlights used to trend. One of the last 8th grade recruits in the country. Spent some time with him when I was down at College Park for the Game On feature. I couldn't have been more impressed.
Great young man.
Intellectual, bright, great manners. He's got an incredible future in lacrosse and beyond. But he talked about the pressure cart that he felt in the club circuit after he verbaled Maryland in 8th grade.
You're 14, you're not ready for that.
People targeted him.
Yes, of course.
And then he had all sorts of knee injuries. And so to see him having success now, after the road that was kind of rocky, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, some significant injuries in high school, and then his redshirt year at Maryland, he was going up against Brett Makar and Ajax Zapatello back in 2022. Northwestern, North Carolina, Women's Championship Sunday, noon Eastern on ESPN. UNC blitzed Florida in the semis. Thompson gets one back for Syracuse, his second goal. And Northwestern with a furious fourth quarter rally to beat BC. 10-3, 10:52 to go in the third.
Thompson from Wyatt Hoddle. Snappy wrist work on this goal.
Yeah, Wyatt Hoddle. What'd you say earlier in the season? It was lightning out of a shot glass.
He is lightning in a shot glass.
He's so fast and quick. Maryland native, 19 in orange, finding Finn Thompson. I told you guys this yesterday. When he catches the ball in front of the crease, it's almost automatic. He has just that sixth sense to find the back of the net. Yeah, tomorrow is going to be a doozy of a game, and got a national championship ride and maybe a Tewaaraton trophy. We could see the freshman Chloe Humphrey. If she does what she did yesterday and scores another 7 and Carolina wins the national championship, how do you not put her in conversation for the Tewaaraton? And then obviously Madison Taylor, who broke the record for most goals in a season. She's been terrific for Northwestern.
Our esteemed crew of Jay Alter, Sheehan Stanwyck Birch, Charlotte North, and Dana Boyle, who's working every semifinal and championship game this weekend. Men and women will be on the call.
Well, it's the best weekend of the year. Clark, to your point with Chloe Humphrey, she had 7 goals in that semifinal matchup. That'll be the first Tewaaraton winner ever in Carolina history if she accomplishes that feat.
And she's just a freshman.
Yeah, watch out.
Here comes Roa. Thompson's got 2. No call. Defended by Kohler. Thompson circles the crease. Spallina now orchestrating from up top. Schaller, top defender in the Big Ten on him. Leo feeding inside. That ball gets away. McNaney pounces on it. Hang on.
Interference call on Maryland. Should be a reset.
It is. Spallina has not had much success against Schaller.
See the lower body strength of Schaller, who was a big-time hockey player. Told me yesterday he was all in on hockey until about 10th grade. You see the
Junior Caps program in the DC area, right?
the lower body strength. Like, watch him on the leverage game here, 27. He is a beast.
Doesn't yield to Spallina. Larkin comes over to help. Roa's got a shorty. Kohler's a darn good one. Roa trying to get free. English now. 2 assists. Stamos all over him. Still plenty of time to shoot. Hiltz absorbs the contact.
I'm surprised Syracuse hasn't used.
Hiltz to Thompson. That hits the ground. 3 Terps in the area code. Somehow it trickles back to the orange. Shot clock at 11, and Leo with McNaney out of the cage. It's 10-4.
What are we doing? I'm surprised Syracuse hasn't used Joey Spallina as a picker to make Schaller play off ball. Going forward, I'd like to see more of that. They catch a break here. Watch McNaney, the goalie, makes a decision to make a play on this ground ball.
I'm not sure he knows where it is.
I think he was going to pick off the pass.
I thought he anticipated Spallina getting that in the lower right. Let's fast forward right now to the face-off. Johnny Mullen, 5th in the country coming in. Face-off win percentage, #1 in the country in ground balls. You talk about a moment to build a little momentum. If Syracuse goes on a run, it has to be Johnny Mullen in this spot.
They'll go up against the freshman Carrier, who started the year 3rd on the depth chart. An injury to Sean Crater, and Carrier of late has been the de facto #1. He and Keithler have split the faceoffs today. Mullen able to win that one, and for the first time today, you finally have the sense that Syracuse may have a little momentum on its side.
Tons of time. Tons of time. They got a history of pulling this kind of stuff off.
Oh, they've been the cardiac cuse in this tournament. A 19-18 barn burner of a win against Princeton. And then the rally against Harvard in the 4th quarter, down 5. They trailed that game 8-2 at the half as well. McCarthy retreats. Tyler McCarthy from Long Island. His club coach was Joe Spallina, Joey's dad. Ottle with an assist. Canfield getting into the grill of Hiltz. Now Spallina, matched by Schaller.
This is the pick Quint wanted. Then it gives him a short stick potential matchup. Schaller played it well.
Now they had Hoddle in that 2-man game. Spallina, feed to the wing. Good look there by Anderson on the run, just missed the cage.
Yeah, I'd like to see Joey come to the high wing and set picks for the midfielders also. Put Schaller, remember what Syracuse did against Sean Light in Notre Dame?
Yes.
Do that today against Will Schaller.
And he slipped the
Make
picks
him
and he
play
was a
off
shooter.
ball. Right.
Spallina, body Schaller, tries to get inside. McNaney turns him away. It's going to be a shot clock reset, but also a crease violation on Syracuse.
Spallina wanted the hooking.
Now Maryland sloppy in the clearing game, picked up by Grace. Syracuse a chance again, so there's Terps defense. Now has to dig in a little deeper. 7:20 to go, 3rd quarter.
Keeping the door open, right? Keeping the door open.
Now listen, it was a 6-goal Maryland lead at halftime. It's still a 6-goal Maryland lead.
Hidden ball here, 23. 23, Kark. Twice in 1 year would be mint.
Here's Roa. Down the alley, bounce shot, score. The Orange got a little juice.
They've been starving for big lacrosse in late May in Central New York. Luke Rowe is part of this junior class. It was the #1 rated recruiting class in the country a few years ago. He finds space, attacks the shorty. Juice ain't dead yet. Don't you go anywhere.
We go to Albany, and a lot of the players that you have seen here on championship weekend, and certainly in this game, will make their PLL debuts this summer. Sam English was the 3rd overall pick to the Redwoods. Owen Hiltz, a 1st-round pick. McNaney will go to the Outlaws.
I love week 1 because we get to spend time the day before, going to all the practices, meeting some of the new players, revisiting with the veterans.
White, you got to slide left. More, half an inch.
3-0 run by Syracuse, and all eyes now on Johnny Mullen, matched up with Keithler. Keithler trying to time up. How about the wing play? Larkin. Spanos. That is vintage Maryland. Instead of going early, they reset, they pull back and say the possession and time of possession matters more.
Nothing's more valuable than the ball and the seconds.
You got to bear down now, right, in this game if you're Maryland? The game's getting a little sideways. Larkin with a A+ ground ball. He's a freak of nature, that kid.
I've said it walking out of Atlanta when they played Notre Dame the 1st of March. Larkin, McDonald, for my money, and I believe it throughout the season, the best 1-2 punch at the long stick midfield position in the country.
Eric's shot altered. It will stay with the Terps.
They're ground ball machines. They're big, rangy, long cover guys. They can change a game. 51-26.
Larkin 6'3", McDonald 6'5". Talking to McDonald yesterday, he felt this was a Maryland team that, in his words, was calloused. They had seen it all, ups, downs. He didn't feel any situation would catch them off guard.
With a zone defense from Syracuse,
which I'm sure John Tillman prepared for. Keegan, Kelly, and McCool able to come up with a huge stop. He's 11 out of 21. Now Carter Rice, he'll be in the PLL this summer.
Guy can run. Short stick, defensive midfield, and because of the injuries and how shallow Syracuse is from a depth perspective at the short stick D-midi position, he's had a lot, about as many minutes as any player in college lacrosse.
You know, we saw the last Eric Spanos goal against Vincent Bolognino. He was an LSM that had to transition to short stick because of the injuries. Spallina can't get free of Schaller. Instead, dumps it back. Skip past to Roa. Roa and Leo play catch. Those two All-Americans along with English. Thompson shot gobbled up by McNaney. Finally tracks it on the crease.
Orange run the weave up top. They get a good look, but McNaney's probably most important stop of the day.
McDonald. Over to the wings. Spanos with his 4th.
Patience, patience, patience. 6th-year season for Logan McNaney. He's seen it all. He tracks that low to low, and then it's off to the races with the other half of the 1-2 punch. It was Larkin, now McDonald, Quint.
Clean stops mean clean runouts. And crisp and accurate passing allows Spanos to shuffle step and show his velocity from about 10 yards. And that's all about turning and raking when he can eye it down.
And Anish, that is what McDonald and Larkin do for you. It's the runouts, it's the comfortability that they have going from defense to offense. Those guys are spectacular.
Spanos 5 points in this semifinal game. Had 5 points in the semis last year against Virginia. Big face-off win by Maryland. They chuck it up ahead. Dangerous pass picked off by Grace. We come up on 4 minutes to play here in the third. Maryland had a 6-goal lead at halftime. That still holds. One thing we've seen from Maryland in the Notre Dame game in Atlanta comes to mind. They pick their spots so well when to push. We've seen it today with Larkin. We saw it on that last goal. McDonald to Spanos. That's going to be a loose ball push on the Terps. So back to Syracuse. Shot clock resets to 60. Now, Quint, we talked to other coaches who've seen these teams throughout the week, and it's just a refrain after a while. Maryland won't beat itself.
How can you get Maryland out of their comfort zone? I think if you're Connor Busick or Cornell and you're scouting this game, that's one thing. If it is Maryland, what can you do? Cornell can ride, tell you that much. You saw that. They got a good Fogo, Jack Cascadden.
If that's the matchup, it is a clash of styles. Now Spallina. Schaller has held him without a point.
We're not quite there yet.
Hoddle, bouncer, McNaney another save. Loose ball, rebound Syracuse, a chance unsettled. Spallina denied.
He is so good. He is making low-to-low saves, high-to-high. I mean, there's no baiting in his game. There's no guessing. It is eyes, like you said, Quint, and a top hand from a speed perspective that is lightning quick.
When I spent a day with him in College Park for Game On, and that's available on ESPN+, he talked about the scouting report, how much film he watches, and how he just minimal movement, and I don't want to cheat or guess. And he's kind of a last-second mover.
There's also layers to his game, Quinn. He's not just a stopper, he's active in the clear game. I think that makes him so impressive and vital.
And when you take all the numbers, the accolades speak in the imperative, but at the end of the day, when he's played a full season for Maryland, the Terps have played on Memorial Day.
That's nutty. That is nutty when you think about it.
And on Tuesday, you may be stamping him as the greatest championship goalie of all time.
I mean, he's in that conversation now.
5'8" from Corning, New York. Same hometown as his coach, John Tillman. He was the only preseason All-American on this team.
Yeah.
Like, put that in perspective.
It's going the other way.
Notre Dame had 9 preseason All-Americans. Syracuse, I believe, had 5. They had 1, and he was a 5'8" goalie.
He's listed at 5'10".
He's not 5'10". Then you're 6'1".
He's 8 of 13 today. He entered this game at 70% in this tournament. For his career, close to 60% in the NCAA tournament. Syracuse close to turning it over again. Bolanino got wrecked. No flag.
Big time hook.
No flag. Final minute, third quarter. Ed Kark, just when it felt like Syracuse has seized some momentum, Maryland scores here. Their lead going into the fourth would be larger than their halftime lead.
And you feel like they had a little momentum, right? Back to Floyd Mayweather. Taking the punches, taking the punches. You gave me maybe 3-4. Well, suddenly I just gave you 7 or 8.
Right, and now it's 10-9 at the end of the round.
Hey, stay tight.
25 seconds. Kelly to Keegan. Whittier. Backpedals into the restraining area. Now back to Keegan from the wing. Less than 10 seconds in the quarter. Keegan trying to feed inside. Dwan picks it off. Maryland 15 minutes away from playing on Memorial Day for the 9th time under John Tillman. It's been a cardiac season for the Cuse. Do they have a few more heartbeats left in this season, or will the Terps take their familiar perch on Championship Monday?
Welcome back to Foxborough here in the fourth quarter. Coach Tillman, back and forth momentum shifts. How do you capture the fourth quarter?
Ground balls, face-offs. I think our guys have done a good job battling. Johnny Mullen's really good. I thought we got a good start, and then that middle third, they really did a great job of possessing the ball, wearing us down, long possessions, and I thought that transition goal was huge. And now they're zoning us, which in a way helps us, just allows us to get organized. We want to possess the ball to help our defense, but we also want to score. But man, if they're going to pack it in like that, it allows us to control the flow of the game up 6 goals. So we'll see how it goes.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Start doing the math. 6-goal lead, 80-second shot clock, 15 minutes left in regulation. John Tillman just said it. He's going to squeeze this clock, and he's going to try to bleed Syracuse dry.
In a day where Johnny Mullen has not been himself, but he gets one here.
Urgency for Syracuse. Mullen wheeling, dealing, scoring, and Syracuse gets one 8 seconds into the fourth quarter for Mullen, his 5th of the season.
Trying to relish the moment if you're Johnny Mullen. Maryland gives him the lane, he takes it. Rolls back, and he just won't be denied. And the interesting thing about lacrosse now, you think about possession, it's earned, it's not given. Every other sport, you get the ball. Basketball, the other team makes a hoop, you get it. Football, there's a kickoff. Lacrosse, we go back to the face-off, Kark, and nothing is given. You've got to earn possession.
He's so strong-minded, too. He lives in the weight room. Teammates say Johnny Mullen, at midnight, will find a way to get into the weight room, mentally strong for moments like this, to capture an opportunity to put his team on his back.
A Massachusetts native playing in Foxborough.
Orange move.
Mullen moved.
That's massive, too, because now he has to sit out the next face-off. You put Johnny Rachuza in there, who's not Johnny Mullen.
He's not Johnny Dangerously either.
How long can Syracuse stay in this zone defense? That's a question I have. And John Tillman seemed perplexed that the Orange were playing zone.
I think you got to bounce now out of the zone because it's not a pressure zone. It's a sit-back zone. And Maryland is so good late in the shot clock, so when they do have to shoot and score, they can. They've done it multiple times under 10 seconds in this game. I would abandon the zone, and I would trust my defense to win matchups. Play out on an island. Press. You're down 5 goals.
Maryland is going to bleed this clock before they make their move.
Again, watch the passing on these possessions. Everything snapped right to the ear. All the passes look the same. Everyone's stick work looks the same. It's like a bunch of robots.
And if you stay in this zone, they will do nothing for the first 30 seconds. They will just bleed that 30.
That will stay with Maryland. We remind you that Saskatchewan and Buffalo, their series in the NLL,
Right side.
deciding game 3 that is underway. You can watch the start of that game on ESPN News or the ESPN app. Turnover here by the Terps. Kaczynski looking to push, now looking for help. Kelly and Ford converge and force the turnover.
That's a disaster for Syracuse. You just played a ton of defense. And I said it earlier in the second quarter, you have to get those first-time grounders on your defensive side of the field and clear it if you're Syracuse against Maryland.
Again, this allows Maryland to buy even more time. You want to go back to a tipping point moment on a lot of levels in the history of this tournament. 2011 quarterfinals, Foxborough. Maryland beats maybe the best team never to make it to championship weekend, the 2011 Syracuse team. 6-5. It was a game where there was no shot clock. The outcome of that game had folks like Quint calling for a shot clock, but it was a master class by John Tillman, knowing that he didn't have the horses. He didn't have the personnel to compete one-on-one with Syracuse, so he found a way to hold the ball, milk the clock, and Maryland won the game, and that was Tillman's first season in College Park. Since then, they've become a juggernaut, and since that 2011 season, Syracuse has only been to championship weekend twice. Kind of changed the fortunes in hindsight of both programs.
And now we have a shot clock.
Grant Catalino had the overtime game winner in that game.
6-5.
Shot clock at 2, at 1, and the Terps throw it away.
That Syracuse team was loaded. John Galloway, Joel White, Jovan Miller.
John Lade.
They won a national championship as freshmen and sophomores, many of them playing tons of minutes, starters and All-Americans. That was their senior year.
Inside of 12 minutes to go in regulation. Roa. Hiltz, little giddy up. The takeaway by Canfield, hold on. We get a push on the Terps, loose ball, Syracuse ball.
Canfield, the initial check was nice, and then afterwards, thought he got him with the push. That should be a fresh 80.
It is. Yeah, for Syracuse.
60 rather.
For Syracuse, the issue becomes there's not a lot of time to waste offensively now. First shot, you almost have to go, don't you? And then you have McNaney, the brick wall from the glass town. Up ahead to Stamos. And now Maryland again, you start to look at the time, 11 minutes into change. Now they can peel away another minute or so here. Quint, it also puts so much pressure on Syracuse when they have the ball because every possession now feels like a must score.
The easiest way to interject tempo into a game is not how you play offense, it's how you play defense. So if you press out and play an aggressive man-to-man right now, you run the risk of giving Maryland 20 goals today, but you also, the upside is, if McCool can get hot, you may be able to get 10 more possessions and actually win this game. It's all or nothing at this stage.
Yeah. How do you maximize
what we're watching is slow death, and Syracuse has no chance to win.
I would agree. It's feast or famine.
You got to take a chance and roll the dice.
10.5 to go. Do you take that chance now?
No, you took it 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
We saw this play out last week in a game that was closer.
No flag. Ford with 4, with 3. Oh, backbreaker. With 2 on the shot clock. A back-breaking goal by Bryce Ford. It's 12-6.
In the last 20 minutes, that is 3 goals with under 10 seconds left on the shot clock. So you're gonna bleed them out. They don't want to press, they want to go in zone. Hold it for the first 70. Strike at 10. Capitalize and flex.
For the transfer, Coach Tillman did great work in the portal this year. John Jay High School had a connection to Chris Bates, and that's one of the reasons why the PLL Archers took him as the last pick in the draft. Mr. Irrelevant. I don't think this young man's going to be irrelevant. He's got a skill set, attack from behind, the wing or up top. I love what I see.
Yes.
I love what I see.
Yes, he is so versatile. He was an attackman in college. On draft night, I called him a bit of an offensive chameleon because of his ability to play anywhere on the offensive set. Tillman has capitalized in the portal. He's done so well. Keegan and Ford. Next year, he's got 2 Yale studs, Chris Lyons and Leo Johnson. they could change the complexity of that offense. I mean, you're bringing in some serious gas in the portal.
Yeah, talking to Ford yesterday, being a transfer, he said, listen, we've been at other places, some of us guys who are new to the program, who had played for other schools, and you hear about John Tillman and his maniacal preparation and attention to detail. He says when you see it, it's eye-opening because he exposes you to things that most coaches aren't paying attention to. And he said that's not a knock on guys playing for other programs. He said every detail, every situation, every scenario is covered, and we've watched it over the years on the field. Very rarely has Maryland been caught off guard or unprepared for a situation. When they've had a week to prepare, always the case.
Anish, how many national championships, honestly, would John Tillman have if they spread out semifinal Saturday and instead of Monday, 2 days, a week later? If you gave him a week to prepare, he's been to championship weekend 10 years prior to this season. He has 2 national titles. I mean, let's start the line at 5. Over or under?
I think that's probably about accurate. There were times, his early teams, 2011, 2012, where he was undermanned. That 2011 Virginia team that Maryland lost to, they had a lot of talent from a really strong team coming back from 2010. 2012, Loyola was a juggernaut. Not sure it happens those seasons, but 16, 21.
Oh, yeah, Tom.
I'd say at least 4 or 5. Anderson, 7:50 to go, 6-goal lead. Cornell awaits the winner. Cornell and Maryland have met 3 times prior in the national championship game. 71, the first championship of the NCAA era. McCarthy off the nice Spallina feed, can't finish. 76, the first of back-to-back titles for Cornell. And then 2022, when Maryland went undefeated, they had a big fourth quarter lead. Cornell roared back, outscored Maryland 4-0 in the fourth quarter of that game as McNaney takes away another scoring opportunity. I remember, Kark, after that game in 2022 in Connecticut, we're going to the airport after the game and we run into John Tillman at the terminal, and the first thing he says, I'm thankful that game did not go another 2 minutes because Maryland ran out of gas.
They did. Roman Puglisi, the short stick D-midi, was injured, playing limited.
Bubba Fairman.
Yep.
That team won so many regular season games in blowout fashion that they never really had played a hard 60 minutes. Combine that with 2 games in 3 days. And if that Maryland team could only beat Cornell 9-7, well, this Maryland team against a much better Cornell team, I predict a real good one on Memorial Day.
It's going to be a clash of styles, barring what right now feels to be a miracle comeback by Syracuse. There's a turnover by the Terps.
Cornell has a couple things going for them in that matchup in terms of dictating some pace. It's the #1 ranked offense in the country, top in assists. The ball moves at hyperspeed. But the 2 areas they can muck it up, the ride with Goldstein, Long, and Kirst, they ride as well as any team we've seen nationally. A lot like Notre Dame did last year. That's one. I think Jack Kaskadin at the face-off X could be a massive, massive lean in terms of possessions. I think he's heating up, that guy.
Michael Leo makes it 12-7. Second goal for Leo.
Kark and I have been talking about how we want Syracuse to run their offense through the midfield. This is exactly what the doctor ordered. The junior from Long Island, he's a lefty. He rolls back, and from mid-range, he finds pay dirt.
Tomorrow, the women's final. The 3 seed in Northwestern, a stirring fourth quarter comeback to knock off Boston College. North Carolina vaporized Florida. Sunday at noon Eastern on ESPN. Jay Alter, Sheen Stanwyck Burge, Charlotte North. Dana Boyle will have the call.
This is going to be an epic battle. Carolina looking for their 4th national title under Jenny Levy. She's got Chloe Humphrey, the freshman sensation, over 80 goals, 7 goals in the semifinals. She's the future star of the women's game. And then you have Kelly Amante Hiller, the best winner in college lacrosse history, men's or women's, in the current era. She has 8 national championships. It's been the championship weekend 16 times in 20 years.
Yeah, she was telling us this week, and every time it's been different, but they blanked back from an 11-6 deficit. Northwestern, they are never out of the fight.
Meanwhile, for Syracuse, Quint, look at the clock. 5.5 to go, 80-second shot clock. You're down 5. Now McNaney makes a save on Leo. Does Syracuse have 5 more possessions, 6 more possessions? And again, the margin for error becomes almost 0. Hiltz got a piece of that one, but Maryland gets it over. And
need to score
now,
on every,
the Terps may run this down to 0 again.
Got to score on every possession. You got to press out and chip into that 80 seconds.
McCool stays in the cage.
Good reminder from John Tillman in that timeout, reaffirming how important that possession is key. If we go to D to O, he said, I want to put the ball in the corner and let it spin. Work the shot clock in your favor.
Monday at 1 Eastern on ESPN, the men's championship game. Cornell against the winner of this one, Maryland in the driver's seat. For more information, go to NCAA.com, your home for all 90 NCAA championship games. Here come the paper cuts.
I mean, look at this discipline. Nobody's selfish, right? Nobody goes rogue.
Spanos back to Urksa. 3 goals today inside of 10 seconds on the shot clock. Spanos puts one on cage. McCool the stop. This is a huge ground ball. We're going to get a hold on Maryland. A dozen saves for McCool. 4 minutes to go. Syracuse down 5.
Remember, they did score 5 goals in 1 minute and 39 seconds in this tournament this year against Harvard.
Harvard didn't call timeout in that stretch either, right?
In Jerry Burns' defense, he burned a timeout on a review earlier in the second half, so he was holding that last timeout, I think.
Leo, no. Did McNaney tip it? He did. Shot clock resets, but becomes a little irrelevant given the urgency. Timeout, John Tillman. 3:35 to go. This has been just vintage Maryland in 2025. You go back to the first game where they beat Syracuse 11-7. Syracuse led 5-4 at the half, and then Maryland outscored Syracuse 7-2 in the second half. A game played in the rain in College Park. You know, round 1, Quint, slow start against Air Force, and then just a methodical Maryland win. They were the better team. They had more weapons. In the quarters, the Terps did not deviate from their game plan at all against Georgetown. They played slow. Georgetown tried to play that style, and even though the score was close, the game never felt close.
And I go back even before that, Anish. This is a team that lost to Rutgers and lost to Michigan during the regular season, and then lost to Ohio State. That's their 3 losses. All along, we thought they were a really good defensive team, but what they've shown me, picking their spots in transition, this half-court offense has gotten good, and the sense of identity is clear. I mean, I think somewhere in the middle to second half of the season, this team identified, like, this is who we are, this is how we're going to play, and everyone's bought in.
Yeah, Daniel Kelly told me earlier in the season, their captain, 45 in white, they don't care who scores. And oftentimes you feel like, that's a little cliche, but when you watch them play, you actually believe it. They don't have, coming into this game, 1 50-point score. Not one.
Zach Whittier is their leading assister.
With 19, and he's a midfielder.
19. He leads the team in assists.
Spanos got to 51, but he did it today with 5 points.
Exactly. You put that in perspective. Kirst is over 100. Goldstein's
50
teetering
assists.
with
100
100.
and about 90, and then
Yep.
Michael Long is 60 plus.
This game, Spallina 89 points, Hilt 72. Maryland doesn't have one, and they're fine with that.
Joey Spallina has been locked down by Will Schaller all day. Spallina scoreless on 4 shots, 4 ground balls, 3 turnovers.
And it was funny, coming into today, we said it was going to be about the stars. Kirst 0 points, Spallina 0 points. But Cornell just had more depth in terms of their scoring and their options.
Bounce shot, there is McNaney, tracks it, clamps it, Maryland ball. And now a lot of the fans, especially those clad in orange, filing for the exits. The last time we had a 1 versus 2 championship, 2005. Johns Hopkins was the 1 seed. That was the year Kyle Harrison won the Tewaaraton. Paul Rabel was a freshman, and Duke was the 2 seed. Hopkins would win the game 9-8, and then they would win another title in 2007, both under Dave Petramala. McCool stays in the cage. That's picked off by Grace. 2.5 to go. Grace thunders into the box, pulls the trigger. McNaney is there. 14 out of 21. Quint Logan McNaney is at the very top of the conversation with guys like Doherty and Tillman Johnson, amongst others, yourself. Big game championship weekend goalies. He is about to play in a national championship game for the 4th time in his career.
An unbelievable tribute to his big game abilities, whether it's a first-round playoff game, a quarterfinal, or a semifinal. He's shown up in the big days, and his playoff save percentage is out of this world. His clearing and his ground ball play, I thought today was very much on display. And that even keel, like his coach, he's a poker face. I look at Logan McNaney, I don't know if they're up by 3, down by 3, or the score's tied in sudden death overtime. The guy's a flatliner, and I think his teammates feel so secure with him as their goalie.
We're in Foxborough right now, where Bill Belichick was the head coach for the Patriots and won 6 Super Bowls. Something in common with McNaney and Tillman, the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins. They take every team's strength and they turn it into a weakness. Syracuse came into this game 6th nationally in goals per game, almost 14 a game, half of their total, because of that kid right there who had total ice in his veins, and a coach who had a week to prepare and said, I'm going to take your strength and you're not going to get to your spots.
Logan McNaney is our Capital One player of the game, Maryland's all-time saves leader, and he continues to add to his legend. And Quint, this is a Terrapins team. Great history of goaltending over the years. So when you think of the guys they've had just in the John Tillman era, guys like Burnmore and Nico Amato, Dan Morris was a national champion. What McNaney has done, the consistency when he's been healthy and when he's been in cage, incomparable.
You know, his mom, Kim, started the women's lacrosse program up in Corning, and the mom encouraged him as a lacrosse player to give goalie a shot. But John Tillman, Anish, John Tillman is the consistency through those Maryland goalies that you named. He works with the goaltenders.
He does. And last time he faced Cornell, the offense started off hot. Logan Wisnauskas, Tewaaraton trophy, but it was all Logan McNaney. Tournament most outstanding player, 17 saves. 13 seniors on Cornell played in that game. Yeah, they're seniors now.
C.J. Kirst.
And I think about Logan last year playing against Notre Dame in the national championship game with a really busted up thumb, prior ACL injury. He admitted that he had to go in and get more surgery after the season to clean up his knee.
Yep.
And his thumb, the last third of the season was not where he needed it to be. Kind of a subpar day for him. I think you'll see his best on Monday.
If you could pick any goalie to play in this game against the nation's #1 offense in Cornell? It's a no-brainer.
It's McNaney. And another name to add to that list. Guys who starred and shined on the big stage. A guy we saw the last couple of years, Liam Entonen. Terps just have to kill some more clock. Bravino spinning away.
We talk about McNaney coming back from that ACL, and
Larkin, one last dagger into the cold Syracuse corpse.
he wanted that one. Did you see on that first goal afterwards a little chirping between Larkin and maybe a Syracuse defender as Gary Gate looks on? But we talk about McNaney as Larkin just pounds this from deep. McNaney in 2023 blows his knee out against Loyola. That's a tough spot as a goalie to come back from an ACL, and that's why I think one of the key factors in this next game against Cornell is a guy coming off of surgery, and Jack Kaskadden. Early in the season, he really wasn't himself, a year off of ACL. He's a buzzsaw right now, Quint, the face-off guy for Cornell.
It's going to be a fascinating game, Q, on Monday. Cornell and Maryland. 3 years ago when they met, Maryland was the ultimate Goliath. Cornell with Gavin Adler, C.J. Kirst. That was the team that had been the plucky underdog all season. They were a 7 seed, getting all the way to championship weekend. They gave Maryland all they had, but they were undermanned. They were the clear underdog. That's not the case this year. It's 1 versus 2, but Cornell came into this tournament as the team to beat. One more for the Terps. Luka Ward, and now flags. John Tillman is about to be 8-0 against Syracuse. It all goes back to that 2011 quarterfinal.
White ball. 35 orange, unnecessary roughness, 1 minute. That's a dead ball foul, no face-off. So personal foul, 35 no orange, unnecessary roughness, 1 minute, dead ball foul, no face-off.
Anish, when we had the Georgetown, Maryland game, Kevin Warren, who's very good friends with John Tillman, told us Tillman's ability to have both the microscope and the telescope to see things short-term and long-term are one of his strengths.
That's the best compliment you could give someone, because most humans only see through one of them. That's their forte, right?
And
they're
coaches,
great at one.
and coaches especially.
John Tillman empties his bench in the final seconds of a semifinal game. All that's left is bookkeeping. Cornell and Maryland on Monday. We have seen that movie 3 times prior. 71-76, 2022. English gets 1 final tally for the Cuse with 2.9.
We were sitting on a nice football score at 14-7, because some people say this Maryland lacrosse team reminds them of the Iowa football team.
Syracuse went for 2.
That guy right there is going to have a long pro career, Sam English. Exceptional talent. Started his collegiate playing days at Princeton. Went to championship weekend.
And he beats Brian Rupel.
Yep. Who started that entire year, essentially, when Logan McNaney got injured.
Yeah.
Rupel will be a 2-year starter after McNaney graduates, and a fantastic upside with Rupel and experience under his belt.
They do it again. John Tillman in May is indomitable. The Terps advanced to championship Monday for the 9th time in the Tillman era. The season comes down to Cornell and Maryland.
Let's go. It's a good year for Gary Gate.
Yeah,
Little by little, he's building.
Yeah,
Yep, year 4, he's leading this team in the right direction. Losing record, 500, go to the quarterfinals last year, now championship weekend. They have a junior class that will be back, but today
It's all about the Terps in winning the semifinal match to deal with that titan of an offense in Cornell.
They have a head coach, John Tillman, who is 1 win away from a 3rd national championship, adding to his ledger, adding to his legend, and he's with Dana Boyle.
Coach Tillman, model of consistency with you as the head coach. You'll make your 9th appearance in a championship game, an opportunity to play for a title. How do you best describe the performance from your team?
Team. We have great players, very dedicated. They work hard, they're selfless, and that's why we go back to a 9th. It's not about me, it's always about them, it's always about Maryland, and everybody in our organization is the same way. It's always about these kids that try to put their best foot forward and be their best. So, again, I'm just a small part of it. If there was another coach here, I'm sure he'd be doing really well too. So I'm lucky to be where I'm at, so the credit should go to those guys.
You're too humble. Your goalkeeper, Logan McNaney, shined on the biggest of stages. Where does his confidence come from?
He's an interesting guy because he's confident, but man, he's humble. Like he projects just kind of an even keelness, but there's never an arrogance or anything like that. He's a very modest young guy, but I think he loves the big moment. He loves to compete, and I think obviously, hopefully we get one more really good one out of him. I'm going to miss him when he's gone. Not only just the player he is, but the person he is.
Eric Spanos on the offensive side, 5 points. You told me earlier in the season you had no alpha on offense. What makes this offense go?
I don't know. We have a lot of kids that work hard, and maybe we have a lot of alpha-type personalities. I don't think we have a Jared Bernhardt. Those guys are hard to come by. But we have a lot of really good players and a lot of guys that can make plays when needed. And I think what's nice is I think everybody's bought into just share the ball. Your opportunity presents itself, go for it. If you get somebody open, make sure you share it. And everybody just loves to kind of play team lacrosse because they know if they give it up, they're definitely going to get it back.
We all know you're elite in your preparation. You'll face Cornell on Monday. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
I definitely would like to play somebody else, for sure. But so much respect for the program, the history, the tradition, the alums, and that staff has just done an amazing job. Connor and those kids, they play so hard. They've been the best team all year. Really they probably had maybe 5 minutes they'd like back, but that's pretty incredible over the trajectory of the season. So it's Memorial Day. We got guys like Brendan Looney, Travis Manning to inspire us. So we got to come back later and give it our all against a really dynamic offensive group.
Thanks, Coach. Congratulations. We'll see you on Monday.
Thank you.
John Tillman is a 1991 graduate of Cornell. He'll face his alma mater in a national championship for the 2nd time. Our season comes down to 1 versus 2, Cornell and Maryland.
John Tillman doing John Tillman things on semifinal Saturday. Monday's going to be epic. The Big Red searching for their first title since 1977, going up against the head coach of Maryland, who played there.
Women's title game tomorrow. Check it out. We'll see you Monday. I got a good feeling about Memorial Day.
Northwestern and North Carolina for the women's championship tomorrow. And on Monday, it's Maryland and Cornell, the final game of the NCAA men's lacrosse season. Terps advance to Memorial Day for the 9th time under John Tillman.